Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You're here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Carlo and Zach. Carlo,
What's up, bud?
I would say happy Sunday, but
Could be happier.
could be a lot better. How you doing, though, buddy?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. It was a nice week. Went by nice and quick, and we're about to repeat that tomorrow. So, yeah, it's going. Wish we had some better things to talk about today about our beloved Red Wings, but it is what it is. We will get into our thoughts and opinions on that one, folks. How about you, buddy? Throw it back to you. How was your weekend?
Not too bad. I had a birthday party I went to last night.
Nice.
That
Celebrating
was
a lot of birthdays these days.
A lot of birthdays. Mine's upcoming here pretty soon, too. There were a couple other ones upcoming, too, at that birthday party as well. A lot of March babies upcoming, So, other than that, yeah, my weekend was good. It could have been better with a couple wins on Thursday. And then, obviously, last night, we will be talking about those games. But, yeah, Carlo, I mean, let's just go ahead and jump into things. I think we're ready. We got a lot to talk about in this jam-packed episode. So, before we actually do all that, let's stop and say, thanks to everyone who is stopping by on this brand new episode, Carlo. And if you are returning, thank you for returning. If you are brand new, thanks for stopping by. We truly do appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up. Go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about this episode. If you are over on Spotify and Apple, you can go ahead and hit that follow button and rate us the 5 stars, Carlo. All those things are free. I knew you were a mind reader, but I wanted to get ahead of the curve.
Take it away.
You beat me to it. But yeah, tell the fans a little bit about why it's free and then how that helps us out along our journey.
Yeah, I think the main piece is really just driving awareness around the fact that how it is very important. And why it's important is it just helps us with algorithms. It helps us continue to get out there. And it helps us stay engaged with folks like you guys who are dropping comments, which we love. We love reading these things. We love talking about these things. There are so many educated people out there that don't have a platform or maybe aren't podcasting, and we really want to hear those opinions. We crave those opinions, and it's just for the better of having Red Wing conversation and talking some shop. So, the engagement's huge for us. We'll throw it right back to you, man. You engage with us. We're definitely going to be engaging with you guys. The likes, the follows, hit the bell if you want to stay, super, super current on what we're doing, what we're talking about. All these things go a long way. And again, the main piece is cut it to you straight. The algorithm. That's what feeds the algorithm, and that's what helps us get out there. So we appreciate it, and hopefully we can continue to bring you guys some more content that is worthy of your engagement. And that's our goal. That's what we want to do, and that's what we're hoping to do today.
Couldn't have said it any better, good buddy. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this jam-packed episode. Once again, what do we got to cover? Well, we do have to cover the Red Wings versus the Ducks game. That was last Sunday. We unfortunately did not cover that because it was later on in the day, following up with the game against the Wild on Tuesday. And then obviously, once again, talking about the Thursday game and then last night's game, back-to-back games against the Columbus Blue Jackets, one being the Stadium Series game that they just played on Saturday, Carlo. First and foremost, talking about these jerseys. Absolutely sick. Love them. Huge fan.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Are you a fan of the Columbus Blue Jackets one, though? I actually like them. I think the retro cannon is pretty cool.
I did like it. I thought it was a nice jersey. Call it biased. I think the Red Wings jersey was nicer. I don't know if it's just because it was cleaner. I don't know if it was simpler. I don't know if it was the color scheme, maybe all of the above. But I think they nailed both of them. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I think the Red Wing one stands out a little bit more. Trying to be like, I don't know if there's probably bias there, but
I mean, not only does red just pop out in general, but the fact that it's the white jersey, maybe if Columbus had a white version too, theirs would be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. I jive with what you're throwing at me here. So Carlo, let's go ahead and jump into this Ducks game that happened Sunday. You did have Alex Lyon in net. Casper was the one to open up the scoring, just kind of coming off his skate with a good back check by Larkin and Raymond. Alex DeBrincat and Kane make it 3-0 just 6 minutes into the game as well when Ducks called for double trip minors, making it a 5-on-3 advantage. So good to see them converting on the power play back-to-back like that. All three goals scored in the span of 1 minute and 55 seconds, so that's huge. Vetrano gets 2 minutes for flipping a puck at Johansson's groin, Carlo, and then Johansson gets 2 for responding to that. Does that even make any sense to you?
Just stupid penalties. I mean, that's literally stupid penalties 101. I mean, if somebody flicked a puck at my groin, considering I've had a groin injury before. Yeah, I would probably retaliate a little bit. That's not cool, but I mean, it is what it is. Anaheim, this game, we'll get into it, but Anaheim really kind of showed some colors during this game in the way they play. There's no rhyme or reason for the way they play, I don't think. Like, there's a way to play the game, and then there's just being an idiot. And I thought Anaheim was being an idiot collectively.
And it didn't come from the players that you would expect it from, at least from me, right? Because they have some, I don't want to call them controversial players, but they got players like Radko Gudas, who's known for getting into it with the opposing players, right? And then you obviously have the new guy, Jacob Trouba, that they recently traded for not too long ago, right? So some names obviously over there, and we'll talk about the next one here upcoming, but you did have Comfort also getting a power play goal. That's 4-1. The Wings allowed the Ducks to come back and force it to overtime, 4-4, Carlo.
Yeah.
You did have Kane getting the game-winning goal thanks to a nice pass from Casper all the way from basically behind his own net, feeding him center ice, right? And then Kane, just classic Kane, just being able to finish it, right? And secured the 2 points, but let's talk about the Trevor Zegras situation, who was given a 3-game suspension for his dangerous high hit on Michael Rasmussen. We did make a short video of it, Carlo. I don't know if you went and looked at the comments. There were definitely some people saying it was a clean hit. I do not agree with that. But the part that kind of frustrated me the most is the people that were saying it slowed down, so of course it's going to look a lot worse. There was a clear 3 seconds after the pass, and then people saying Michael Rasmussen's head was down and everything.
When you're leading with your elbow, that's what you can't do that. Like, you cannot do that.
And then Trevor Zegras is what, like 6'1", and then Michael Rasmussen is 6'6".
That was the other thing I'm going to say is the height difference alone. Like, you know what? A perfect example is what happened last night with Soda. He got robbed, but it was a clean hit. That was a clean hit. It was right to the chest. Probably knocked the wind out of him because he came back and played. I didn't think he got like concussed or anything, or he had to head out. But you could tell he got the wind knocked out of him, and then the top of the guy's helmet is what clipped him in the face because of the height difference. That was not what happened with Rasmussen and Zegras. Zegras led with a flying elbow. That you can't do that. Like,
no way.
You just can't do that.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you count how many times he said no way? Yeah. If anyone did, let us know how many times he said that down in the comments.
See, and I will also say this. There's been a lot of chatter amongst not just us in our group chats and whatnot, but other people too online about Zegras. We got to get Zegras. Oh, Steve's got to do something for Zegras. Like, that is exactly why I'm like, stay away from Zegras. I just don't like him. Yeah. Doing stuff like that, saying no way. Like, you don't, like, he's not there yet. He's got some growing to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that could be one of those situations and products too, right? Maybe he just needs to change the scenery. Maybe the fear of Steve Yzerman can do some good to him.
No, I want him nowhere near this team. Nowhere.
Fair enough. Let us know if you would like to see the Red Wings go out for Trevor Zegras. Fun fact, Carlo, the Red Wings scored 3 goals in the opening 5 minutes and 6 seconds of their game. The last time they netted 3 goals faster to start a contest was February 9th, 1993, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So incredible. That's pretty cool.
You know what? A quick little plug for DMAC, because he called that, eh? He totally called that. These guys are going to come out of the gates so hot, and he was very, very right. So,
and then when we messaged him saying that, he said, "Okay, you can't let them come back."
And then they came back.
He also called that. So, DMAC, good job on that one. Thank you once again for coming on to our podcast last weekend. If you guys haven't already watched that episode, go ahead and check that out. Probably the best interview you're going to be able to watch and listen to with Darren McCarty. Yeah, going back to Trevor Zegras once again, Carlo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a hearing with NHL player safety. It was actually really quick. My biggest thing, though, is that, and a lot of people were saying this too, not everyone, but a lot, I noticed in the comments, that obviously there was no call on the ice by the referees from that hit from Trevor Zegras, right? But NHL referees be fined in situations like these where a dangerous hit is made out on the ice, comes back, that player gets suspended? Should there be repercussions for referees, in your opinion?
Well, there needs to be some sort of accountability, I think, to these refs. I mean, we're going to get into that, to why. Trust me on that one. But Yeah, there needs to be some sort of accountability check or some sort of, I want to say like a board. Like I'm not looking for like, these guys are all human beings at the end of the day, but um so this isn't, I'm not questioning ethics or morals or anything like that, but there needs to be some sort of, just like players have to watch tape, refs should have to watch tape. Like refs should have, call it a coach, so to speak, that like, hey, we reviewed your game last night. Here's where you need to be better, just like you would do for a player. And maybe that does exist. I'm just not sure, unaware of it, or I'm not sure of it, but I don't think it does, and it should, because there's time and time again where refs lose control of a game, and you see some crazy things happen, or they blatantly miss the obvious call. Which again, I mean, we're coming off that last night. That they need to be aware of. Like that's just nuts to me. So if that does exist, if there is some sort of like ref coach or like ref boss who is sending footage to people of, hey, here's where you need to be better. Here's where you need to be better. Here, let me know, or let us know if that does exist. And if it doesn't exist, NHL, if you're catching this, yeah, go and do that.
Yeah, I would assume it comes directly from headquarters, maybe in New York. I don't know where player safety, if that like would come into play, or how that all works. So yeah, please let us know down in the comments. But the one thing that really gets me too, Carlo, is the fact that they went and reviewed the play after the hit too. So the refs, they got to see the video footage and they still did not make a call on it. So even then, I think that's even more worthy to say, yeah, there should be some sort of fine, repercussions, something, right? I'm not looking for this guy to lose his job, but you definitely got to smack his hand a little bit and say, yeah, you guys effed up on this one. This one definitely should have been a call, but that's just me. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments. If NHL referees should get some reprimanded, or what's the word? Repercussions, fines for missed calls, at least dangerous ones. But Carlo, we had an eventful day quite after that. On Monday, Ville Husso was traded to the Anaheim Ducks for, you guessed it, future considerations, which basically means nothing in today's world. But for the Red Wings, this does clear $4.75 million in cap space potential for Steve Yzerman to make a move at the deadline, or at least we think, right? It's a weird situation with that, right? Where the Red Wings have, I think it's around $14 million, but they would have to fill in that $14 million in order to technically use that.
That's correct. Yeah. So they can use, they would have to basically overextend and start dipping into what Cop's salary percentage is to their cap in order to get that percentage to be usable cap space, which is very interesting. But I think Yzerman is just making the room for if or when that deal pops or becomes available.
And it's no secret. We didn't mention it yet. We were probably going to get to it, but Andrew Copp, officially out long term. He actually just had successful surgery.
I never thought I'd say this, Zach, but like he's missed. Like his defensive play is it really stands out to me now. I mean, obviously he's gotten a ton, but everybody's gotten a ton better under Todd and the coaching staff. But boy, oh boy, is Andrew Copp and his defensive responsibilities super missed right now, and the hole is just like, it's a very big hole that's quite noticeable. Never thought I'd say that.
We did a poll. We asked, let's say Steve Yzerman did go out and acquire a Dylan Cozens via trade at the deadline, right? This is just hypothetical, just a science experiment. Don't take it for heart. Assume it took picks and prospects to get him in the science experiment, folks. Which center would you try to trade in the offseason? And the options were Andrew Copp or JT Compher. 374 people voted, Carlo. Who would you take a guess that they voted to trade out of the two?
Probably Copp.
62.6% said they would rather trade JT Compher.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
No, that's the absolute correct answer. And I think that means a lot, because even before the injury, I think a lot of people probably would have suggested it could have been a crapshoot, right? It probably could have been 50-50. But like how you just introduced it, Andrew Copp is missed, especially on the defensive side when he is playing center for this team, right? And so the saying goes, Carlo, you truly never know what you're going to miss until it's gone, right? or if that's even the saying. I'm not good with sayings, but I think you guys are understanding.
No, 100%. Yeah,
right?
I get we got what you're saying.
So not only that, but then you look at the PK side too, Carlo. I think the PK actually got a little worse as well, if you would agree with me on that one. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no, it did. It did. For sure it did. I don't know if it's just the lack of practice that's been that's I guess that's been for the last week or two, because there really hasn't been that many practices happening considering the amount of hockey being played, some mandatory days off, and then going into the Stadium Series. I mean, I'm sure that has a little bit to do with it, but they got to get back to doing what they were doing when they snapped off those 2 7-game heaters. They've shown they can do it twice. I'm confident they can do it a third time. Granted, the schedule is not as easy as it was then. It's pretty tough for them right now, but now more than ever, it's very important to get their X's and O's in order, because it's rough right now.
Yeah, it's very rough. So we'll go more in depth about, what Steve Yzerman could potentially do to upgrade this team, talking about the trade deadline, which is less than a week away now, Carlo. It's pretty crazy. We're moving further along, and yeah, the season's dwindling down and less games. So the Red Wings better start stacking up the points here. But
yeah,
Wings versus Wild, that happened on Tuesday. You did have Talbot in net. Joel Eriksson-Ek was actually out of this game. That's a key factor. And he was last matchup, Carlo. We just played them not too long ago before this, who had 2 big defensive stick plays to secure the Minnesota Wild win against us last time. But early on, Wings were down 2-0 in the first. Tarasenko cuts the lead in half, 2-1 in the second. Nice cross-ice pass from Gus. Edmondson ties it on a clap bomb from the blue line and then gets the game-winning goal with another clap bomb. Nice play by Soderblom to Johansson, feeding Simon. And then after the game, post-game, McClellan labeled the game as a muck and grind game, kind of like a playoff game. It was a terrible first, but played really well defensively and came out with a huge 2 points in their third game in 4 days. And yeah, you made a mention of that too. Lack of practice because you have so many games. They're so close together. I mean, your third game in 4 days. I mean, because of the Four Nations tournament that happened, Carlo, the rest of the season is very much condensed, but this was a huge 2 points for the Detroit Red Wings.
That was.
Didn't allow the Minnesota Wild to get any this time. So thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it wasn't obviously wasn't the start that they wanted, but they stuck with it. They did stick with it big time. I always love when Tarasenko scores. I really do. I wish he would just shoot more and pick corners more, because I feel like he'd have a ton more goals, because a lot of his stuff comes in off the the breadbasket. But when it's a chance like he had in the second period against Minnesota, he's not missing that. He's not. That's going in. And then Simon Edvinsson, it was awesome to see him just bombing shots, and shots that had eyes. Like, those things were flying, quite literally. Great game from Simon. Wish I could say the same for Simon against Columbus Thursday and Saturday night. But for this game, sticking with this game, I think Todd nailed it. It was a mucky game. It was a defensive game, and Detroit just stuck to their game plan, got the shots on net, and they got rewarded for it. That's going to happen some games. It's not going to happen all games. And, once again, the top line is just nowhere on the score sheet. Well, I guess Casper was with a secondary assist, but
yeah, I mean, it's been pretty interesting to see, the cause and effect these last 3 games with that top line. I mean, you're looking at it. I mean, someone like Dylan Larkin, I mean, in this game, he had no shots on net. He had 2 penalty minutes, played 18-26. You look at Lucas Raymond, 1 shot on net. And then, yeah, Marco Casper, like you said, he had an assist on that play. So good for him. But still, nonetheless, the top line, these last 3 games, we will go and talk about it because you guys saw it. It's on the thumbnail, right? That this it truly is. And it has been these last 3 games. And Carlo, I kind of had this speculation in the back of my mind that, is this break really actually going to help this team? The first couple games it did, but as I mentioned again, and how you said, the condensed games this month. Is it more so that, or do you think the break had anything to do with it? You mentioned practices in between too. What's the underlying here that you feel?
Speaking on the top line, I think it's just rest. Like those guys have been going. I guess for Raymond, like he had a couple days before the season resumed, the NHL regular season resumed, but Larkin, he really didn't have much time, and you're seeing it. I just think you're seeing it. Like I seen a couple. I think it was the second period. I can't remember if I think it was against Columbus on Thursday, the first game they played against Columbus. He did not have any legs, dude. Like he was struggling to get back. Now I don't know how long his shift was. I didn't go that in depth. I just noticed like, wow, Larkin looks gassed. So, I don't know if he's battling something. He could be battling a little bit of an injury, but it's Dylan Larkin and he's going to suit up and he's going to play. But you got to kind of ask yourself, like, is Dylan Larkin suiting up and playing starting to become a bit of a liability? I'm not there yet, but when the top line is like that out of the action and missing that much, now I'm starting to see a lot of holes, and I'm like, yikes, this is not looking great. So I hope he's not battling anything. I hope he's not injured. I truly hope it's just a rest factor that he's going to get, that he needs to get, and hopefully they can figure it out and get it together. I think they will figure it out and get it together. It's just how many games is it going to take to do that, because we don't really have that many games to play with, so to speak. Like we need these guys going.
Yeah, exactly that. I guess this is a good point to actually go and talk about the Thursday night game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, where you did have Cam Talbot in that. It was the 700 game for OT Benny, the overnight assassin.
Yep.
I want to make that. We're putting that on a t-shirt. That's the quote of the day today, Carlo. We're putting that one on a t-shirt, I swear. It was a chippy scoreless first, where both teams had decent scoring opportunities. There were quite a few goals called back actually in this game too. The Red Wings had plenty. To me, I felt like they had plenty of opportunity to actually get back into this game. Shots were very even. They won on the faceoff percentages. They even got a power play goal. Alex DeBrincat got the first goal. He continues his hot streak, his point streak. JT Compher got that power play goal. But the Red Wings lose 5-2. But going back and talking about that top line, Carlo, they non-existent in this game, especially someone like Dylan Larkin. A lot of people were giving him flack online, even the coaching staff. Todd McClellan, if you want to talk about it, he gave it to Dylan Larkin, and he had to. And that's what we want from this coach.
Well, that's what you want from any coach. Anybody that's in charge and trying to get a philosophy baked in. Yeah, like you want to hear when you're just not showing up. You need to hear when you're just not showing up. I feel like those were things that were very muted and very just not top of the coach's mind in the past. But to see that now, it's very refreshing. And even Larkin pregame on Saturday against Columbus, they talked about it in the media scrum there, and he fully agreed. He took it. Like Todd said, he's a big boy, right? Like he's going to be able to handle that stuff. And again, back to my point, like how long is it going to take? Granted that he's not battling any injuries, for him to get it going again. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm sure I didn't catch the post game last night, but similar things could have definitely been said about the top line against these two games against Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, Dylan Larkin, -3, 16:44 time on ice. Lucas Raymond, -3, only 2 shots on net, 16:04 time on ice. Marco Kasper, -2, 14:29 time on ice. Carlo, we started talking about this before we started recording. We wanted to save it for this episode, but I mentioned to you that, what was it? And someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the exact numbers. I think it was like 16 points in the last 18 games for Marco Kasper being on that top line. That's why they don't want to move him around, even with the injury due to Andrew Kopp, Michael Rasmussen being day-to-day. Can the Red Wings actually depend and rely on this 21-year-old kid to continuously put up the numbers that he has been on the top line moving forward?
For me, no. And that's not a shot at Marco Kasper. That's just reality. He's young, very young. He's still a kid. He's his first NHL season. Like, he's a rookie. And, we can't be expecting him to drive the top line. No chance. And I guess this just kind of goes to show you that, how off Larkin and Raymond are right now. because it's obviously negatively impacting Marco Kasper, who's just not there yet. He can't get those two going, but those two can get him going, when Larkin and Raymond are on, Kasper's on. He's noticeable. He's doing things. He's making plays. But when, like I said, when Larkin and Raymond are off, Kasper's he's just not there yet. You can't put all the weight on his shoulders. That's not fair to him. And he's a kid. Like, he's not there yet. He needs to still develop into this league. The other thing I wanted to mention, though, is you did say that Lucas Raymond had, what did you say it was? 16 minutes and 4 seconds of ice time?
Yep.
That was the lowest amount of ice time that Lucas Raymond has had going back to October 30th against Winnipeg when Detroit lost 6-2.
Very early in the season, mind you.
Very early in the season. I believe that would have been like the 10th or 11th game of the season. And my buddy mentioned it to me. Shout out Darren. What's up, brother? He mentioned to me that he noticed that Raymond got benched during the second period. I don't think it was the entire second period, but majority of the second period, he was not on the ice. So it sucks that it's Raymond getting benched, but I mean, that's awesome that our coaching staff's doing that. And they got the stones to do that, to send those messages. That's great.
Now, you can interpret it in a couple different ways. Obviously, this is just my mind. This isn't me trying to think that this is like some massive plot plan for the next game, because the Stadium Series game, you can probably easily say that the game's a little bit more important, right? I mean, it's really big event, 90,000 plus people out there just to watch it, and plus everyone at home watching or wherever they're at. Could the reason behind it, their lack of ice time, could have been to just set them and let them get a little bit of rest and not overplay them to be more prepared for the Saturday night?
Yeah, that's honestly a really good takeaway here too. That's a great way to look at it. That's possible. But when the comments post game are that our big minute guys need to show up, I don't know if that's it. Now, could it be a little bit of both? Could it be like, yeah, we're sitting you because you just don't have it tonight, but this is also a good thing so you can kind of catch your breath, get your wind back? Maybe, but I think it's more of the first point. Like, I really think that they were trying to send a message to these guys to reinvigorate them, because I'll say this: thank God we have a second line. They're the ones that have been scoring our goals. It's not enough to win games, but that our second line has been our line. That's been our goal scoring line.
Yeah, let's talk about them real quick. And just to highlight Alex DeBrincat, I do actually have the amount of games and the points that he has, but in his last 9 games, Carlo, with his 2 goals last night, 14 points in his last 9 games, Carlo.
He's having a career year, dude. He is having a monster year. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome to see. You can just see it, man. He is having fun out there. Like, just watch him play. Watch him celebrate these goals. He's having so much fun out there, and you can see it. And how can you not have fun when you're just banging in goals left and right? Like, he's just killing it.
Yeah, because of that, Alex DeBrincat, in the 60 games played so far this season, he now has 29 goals, surpassed his goal total last season, his previous 2 seasons, actually. 24 assists for 53 points in the 60 games played. Once again, Carlo, he's on pace for 40 goals now because of this.
Yes, he is.
We sent out a tweet about it. Alex DeBrincat's going to be a 35-plus goal scorer this season, isn't he? And a lot of people agreed. Do you think that there is a chance that he continues this and hits the 40-goal mark once again for the first time in almost 3 seasons?
Well, this is a loaded question because my answer and my response is pretty loaded. So
lay it out like a baked potato, bud.
I'm going to go with yes. I do think DeBrincat can get 40. I would like to see DeBrincat back on the top line. I think that helps him get to 40, maybe quicker than we think. But I also think that DeBrincat, the way he's playing right now, and talk about how much fun he's having on the ice, I feel like DeBrincat can get Larkin and Raymond going again.
Could you make the same argument with someone like Patrick Kane, who also has 8 points in his last 9 games played?
That's
8 games played. I'm sorry. So it's actually 8 points in the last 8 games played. So he's currently a point per game player right now.
Yeah, I think Kane, the only thing with Kane that you have to be careful is just he's a terrible back checker.
Right.
Like he is,
clear.
he's a defensive liability. So, you know, I feel like you have to really be smart of who you play him with. Now, you put him with Larkin right now, I don't think that's going to be good for Larkin because Larkin doesn't have his legs. Like he's gassed. So to put Kane up there with Larkin right now might not be the best option, only because Larkin's still catching his breath. He can't cover for Kane's absence on the defensive side. But DeBrincat, I think DeBrincat can, because he's been playing great defensively. He's back checking hard. And as Todd put it, he's just a tough SOB. He's going to come back there and he's going to throw his body. So for me, I'm thinking DeBrincat goes up to that top line because I think DeBrincat has the stones and has paid his dues enough in this league where he can get Larkin and Raymond going. Again, this is not a shot at Casper. Casper's just not there yet. He's young. He's a kid.
Yeah, and his first, if you even want to call it a full season, because he only missed one game with this team, right, at the start of the season, his first full season in the NHL, that would be 81 games, right? He's never played a season where he had to play that amount of games, and this is the toughest league in the entire world for hockey. Like you said, no disrespect to Marco Casper, but he's still very young, still has a lot to learn. And it would be very beneficial. I'm saying it right now, Carlo. I did say it before the recording as well, but there's no reason why we can't just bump him down to the 2C right now and then let him play with someone like Kane. And then, like you were saying before the recording as well, that's kind of the glaring problem is that who are you going to put on that second line with Casper and Kane?
Well, that's just it. I think right now we're over-indexing JT Compher. JT Compher should be on the third line, and there should be somebody on the third line like a Joe Veleno pushed down to the fourth line. Tyler Mott, sorry, buddy. Like, no. Fisher. Guys, I'm sorry. With Mott and Fisher in the lineup, like, it's bad. And those are the holes. The problem with those holes with Mott and Fisher is they're being filled by one player from each line above them. Which means that our true hole is in the top six. Whether it be a left winger, a right winger, or a center, that's our glaring hole is we need one of those players to properly slot this lineup. Because as soon as that move happens, Compher slots down, like I said, to the third line center, which pushes Veleno down to the fourth line center, which is, realistically, folks, that's probably what needs to happen here for proper depth. Go ahead.
And we're going to leave you guys on the cliffhanger. We're going to go ahead and finish up the game notes. We're going to finish up with the Stadium Series, and then we'll go and talk about the trade deadline, Carlo.
I'm pushing it. Hey, I just keep pushing it forward here.
No, you're leaving everyone on a cliffhanger. That's
all right,
good.
I like it. All right, we
cliffhangers. I know they want to hear what we have to say, what our thoughts might be, but we also want to hear from you guys. If you guys are making it this far, we truly appreciate it. Once again, go ahead and leave us down a comment. You guys are excited to hear our thoughts and opinions, and we would love to hear yours. But yeah, Carlo, Cam Talbot and net. It was a scoreless first period, Carlo, but the Red Wings heavily outshot the Columbus Blue Jackets. I suck at betting. I thought that there would be a goal within the first 10 minutes, and I was stupid enough to actually believe that. Do you think that was partially because it's an outdoor game? Players were getting adjusted. It's cold. Reasons why maybe it was a scoreless first.
Just want to show the people that yes, it is a golden retriever mug. Big golden retriever fans here on the pod. So just in case anybody saw that and was like, is that a golden retriever on his mug? It is. It absolutely.
I'm sure everyone saw Miss Ellie walking by earlier too. Now everyone, I don't have my virtual background up for whatever reason, but yeah, now you guys can see everything in my place now. Not too exciting, but
I'll kick your ass in foosball. And is that a foosball table or is that hockey?
That is bubble hockey.
Bubble. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
dope.
I am currently 4-1. 4-1. So if anyone wants to get their butts handed to them, let me know. Shoot me a DM on Twitter. My handle's right there. So, but then, yeah, the Red Wings were down very, very quickly going into the second, Carlo. I believe it was the second. Yeah, going into the second. But then you did have Kane actually making a really sick pass to Alex DeBrincat to tie it 1-1. Beautiful, extends his point streak to 9 games, like we mentioned. I do want to highlight this. Some of the goals that were actually scored on the Red Wings, the second goal against the Blue Jackets, Carlo, I think Simon Evanson learned that he needs to be better in front of his own net when opposing player is there as well and needs to learn how to out-muscle that man.
Yeah.
He did that at one point last season too, and I called him out for it. I obviously don't remember which game it was, but I was like, he's got to learn, like, yeah, you got to out-muscle that guy.
I'm glad you brought that up, dude. I'm really glad you brought that up. There's no reason why a guy of Edvinson's just size and stature, there's no reason why you are just sitting there caressing the guy's lower back.
Yeah, like, that's what you did.
Do like push him a little bit. Yeah, get in there. Like, you're huge. Yeah, unacceptable in my opinion. And I will say, Simon Edvinsson probably had his 2 worst games back-to-back against Columbus. He looked terrible. I don't know what's going on, but Trent, get him going. Do what you do.
Him and Johansson, but then the same thing that we said with Marco Kasper. We're depending on these 2 really young guys that are 21, 22 years old to play in a top 4 role in the NHL, right? So it's tough, right? Both of them have never played this extended amount of time within the NHL before, right? Especially in Albert Johansson, right?
Yeah, but we're asking Simon Edvinsson to play fundamental defense. Like, if there's a guy in front of your goalie and you're behind that guy, you need to move him. Like, that's fundamental defense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not here making excuses for him. I said, I'm calling him out for that. Yeah.
I know he's young and I know he's still learning and I know you can't be super, super upset, but when it's a fundamental flaw, that's what gets you upset. Like, that's the stuff that it's just unacceptable.
Well, then the third goal, the goalie lost the puck, basically. Couldn't find it. Hall couldn't win the battle for a pretty easy shot and goal, 5-on-5. You know exactly which goal I'm talking about there. Hall didn't do a good job at covering his man, but the goalie lost it, couldn't find it, Cam Talbot, and it goes back to Andrew Kopp, right? Someone to help out on the defensive play. The depth, right? You have players going up versus going down, right? You want players to be outperforming what they can provide on that line, not the other way around, right? So granted, it's Justin Hall, obviously, but same case for defense, right? We made arguments for a forward, and I think Steve, and we'll talk about it, needs to do something for the back end as well. Carlo, quick thoughts on that.
Just quick thoughts on the back end for D?
Back end.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So kind of similar philosophy that I was talking about with the forward group. We need a top 4 D-man. And that's, again, just for proper slotting. Like, we need a top 4 D-man so that one of Eric Gustafsson or Justin Hall is being scratched. Does that mean that it's a top-line D-man coming in? Very unlikely. But that would then allow Ben Sherratt to drop down, right? But nonetheless, we need a D-man who's going to be able to come in here, take a top 4 spot, which is then going to push Eric Gustafsson or Justin Hall to be a healthy scratch, and they can flip and rotate that. Ideally, for me, my ultimate wish list is this D-man, this hypothetical D-man that comes in, can run PP2. He will be the quarterback of the second power play unit, because Gustafsson is just not it. He's just not it, man. Like,
are you shocked that it's not Simon Edvinsson with the booming slap shot that he's got, dude?
Well, I think we might see that. I think there's a chance that we see some adjustments being made. So am I surprised? No, but I think there's going to be some looks coming with Simon there.
Yeah, for sure. Continuing on with this game, in the third period, Patrick Kane, really good shot actually from high slot, a little bit from the point if you want to say that too. But awesome that was a great shot. You got the assist for Simon Edvinsson and Johansson. So they both got a point. A lot of defenders actually got points in this game. But Patrick Kane, 3 points in this game. Alex DeBrincat gets his second goal of the game to tie it 3-3.
Once again, Zach, I'm just going to say it. Thank God we have a second line.
Yeah. So this is where it gets really sad. So they tied it with 3:24 left to play in this third period game, Carlo. The Blue Jackets take back the lead with 2:17 left, but Columbus Blue Jackets player, I think it was Danforth, had a very clear high stick on Simon Edvinsson and was able to essentially get a breakaway goal to help follow up with an empty netter, and the Red Wings lose 5-3. Very similar fashion as the last game, but walk us through that high stick.
It was a high stick. That's the play's dead, and you're getting a penalty because it's a high stick.
You could have just stopped right there and just said that it was a high stick.
Like find me someone who doesn't think that's a high stick. Like, I don't care if they've never seen hockey before. You just let them know, hey, if this is the way hockey rules work, if you high stick somebody and your stick touches their face, it's a penalty. Go watch this play. What's your take on this? They would say it's a high stick. Like, there's no doubting that. But we gave up 4 goals on 20 shots.
Yeah, and we scored 3 goals on 46 shots.
All the shot, I'm not going to say all, but like 90%, maybe a little bit more of the shots we took on Merzlikins. Merzlikins? It's an awesome last name. He saw them all. He saw every shot. I think he didn't see Kane's, obviously, and he didn't see DeBrincat's last goal, which was nasty, by the way. But every other shot, and yeah, I'm talking about the other 30 to 39 shots, he saw them. What are you going to, like, come on. Breadbasket shots. I think I commented on one where Tarasenko, he had a great opportunity. Had he have picked a corner, it's going in. Nope, shot it right in the cannon. It's like, you're not scoring. Like, you're not scoring in the NHL with that lack of quality or lack of attention to detail of where you are placing the puck. Anyways, is it a penalty? Yes. Should that have been a goal? No. Does that mean that this game goes into overtime? Maybe. What's the outcome of that? I don't know, but we got a point. That's what kind of bothers me the most. And then the second thing that bothers me the most is, like I just said, you can't let a team score 4 goals on 20 shots, not when you have 46. You just that just does not make any sense. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, is it fair to say that it's all right for some Red Wings fans to feel like that the league may be out to get them, because we have been seeing some egregious no calls on the Red Wings when it comes to officiating?
Well, we probably, to boil it down to Red Wing fans, I think it's unfair. I mean, you got to remember, like, Red Wing fans, we watch every game. We're so dialed in. We're going to notice these things happen, of course, to the Red Wings, considering we watch every game and we're dialed in all the way. But you go and talk to some other diehards for some other teams. Like, I tell you right now, I got a lot of buddies who are Leafs fans. They feel the same thing, especially in the playoffs. They feel the same thing with calls. So I feel like if you ask that question to any diehard team of any team in the NHL, you're going to get a very similar response. And I think the big problem, is just the fact that refs need to be accountable. Like I said, they need to be sent footage of, hey, you missed this one. You got to get better. They need to get better.
Situations like these for a crucial 1 or 2 points, Carlo. Yeah, could have gone in OT? That was probably the most likely scenario, right? I mean, the fact that Columbus was able to take back the lead, I mean, obviously it was a fluke incident, right? Puck is flipped. Guys going between two players, Simon Edvinsson, Albert Johansson. Simon Edvinsson gets clipped. Albert Johansson, unfortunately, stumbles right on top of him, it seemed like. And like I said, forced a breakaway. Guy was able to score. The Red Wings definitely had a lot of missed opportunities, though, I would say, Carlo. This definitely should have been a different type of game. It should have been the other way around. There's really no excuses. It's a tight race now. You just lost your first wild card spot.
Yep.
You're now in the second wild card spot.
And you got the teams below you humming, man. The teams below are humming. Montreal's buzzing right now. Like, you got to look out for these teams that are coming up. Like, they need to get it together. And I think you put it perfectly, dude. We didn't lose that game because of that one non-call. We lost that game because we didn't capitalize on our opportunities. And we had them. We had tons. That's why we lost the game.
And there's a couple different reasons for that, right? I don't think it's one key thing, right? But one key thing of it, I would say, I think it comes down to the depth. And that's kind of what the overlying thing is here on this episode. It seems to be the theme, right? Is that Steve Yzerman should definitely approach this trade deadline. I would not be shocked if he didn't. I would not be shocked if he made a trade today, Carlo. It's Sunday. It's 11 a.m. currently. We're recording very early today. So we might have to put out another episode later today. Who knows? But
see,
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, help us out, Steve.
As soon as we finish recording, like Steve always does with Red Wing podcasts, it's like as soon as we're done recording, he makes a trade.
Yep. But just kind of want to go back to the standings a little bit. The Sens do have 64 points. We do have one more game played than they do. I believe that they would have the better row against us. So that means that we would lose the second wildcard spot if the Ottawa Senators win their next game, Carlo. Then the Boston Bruins, 64 points as well. But they have one more game played than we do. So that helps us out a little bit. Then you mentioned Montreal as well. New York Rangers, they're really not too far behind either. Neither are the Flyers. Neither are the Islanders. It's really very, very close and very interesting. And that's why I believe heading into this NHL trade deadline, it's a buyer's market this year, Carlo. A lot of teams, we've seen a lot of trades so far throughout this season too. It's actually incredible. I don't think we've actually seen quite this amount of action this early as we've seen in recent years. Maybe that's just me because I'm living in the moment right now and not hyper focusing on the past. But your thoughts on that real quick. Do you think that we're actually seeing more action now that teams know that cap's going up?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see it. I think this is it's probably gonna start to go into overdrive. If not today, then tomorrow. I think we'll start seeing some big moves. Not big moves, but like high frequency of moves.
Oh, we'll get to some big moves here, buddy, because some actually happened over this weekend. But I do want to lay this out per Money Puck. Posted it today. The Wings now have a 30.6% chance of making the playoffs. On February 28th, Carlo, it was 42.6%. So those two losses dropped you 12%.
It goes to show you how monumental each game is and how easy it is to lose steam, but also how easy it is to gain steam. Once again, this team has snapped off 2 7-game heaters.
Do it again.
Do I think listen, the schedule is not that easy. Can they do 7 again? I guess we'll find out. That'd be sweet.
777s.
That'd be sweet.
777s.
But even if they can do 5, that would be honestly very impressive considering the schedule. But still, if they can go on another run here, they're right back up, and then you're going to see the chances be creeping into the 50s because the amount of games left in the season gets smaller and smaller. That's how it goes. But yeah, it's monumental. Every game is very monumental. They need to be going into every game. Like I said last week with DMAC, every game is a playoff game. They need to start to get their mindset into the fact that it's not game 7, but like every game is kind of game 7 right now. If you truly want to get back into the playoffs, you need to treat it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Play like your job's on the line.
Yeah, it is.
Anything that motivates you as a person. Everyone's obviously different, but whatever gets the boys going, you got to convince yourself, like, hey, this could be the last game somehow, some way. Yeah. So who knows? Yeah. But Carlo, we're going to start talking about the NHL trade deadline. It's also tying in with around the league news because we're going to talk about all these really recent trades this past week. These obviously aren't going to be in order, but you do have the Carolina Hurricanes and Hall agreeing to a 2-by $7.5 million deal. That seems high. Would you agree for Taylor Hall?
Yeah, I think that's a little high, but you kind of talked about that and alluded to it earlier with the cap going up. When the cap goes up a certain percentage, a player's worth also goes up similar percentage too to kind of play with it, right? At least the player probably thinks so, and the agent does. So, do I think it's high? Yeah. Do I think it's offside with all things considered? No. That's just kind of the reality of how things work.
Yep. Next up, you got Minnesota trades a 2026 second-round pick for Gustav Nyquist from Nashville.
Yep.
I'm quite surprised that Nashville was able to get a second for an older Gustav Nyquist, but are you surprised by that return?
No, I wouldn't say I'm surprised by that return. I think that's fair. I think that's fair at the end of the day for Gus. The return I'm really surprised about, which I'm sure I'll let you get there.
So the reason why I think this is a little high, Carlo, because back on February 28th, 2023, just 2 years ago, the Columbus Blue Jackets traded him to the Minnesota Wild for a 2023 fifth-round pick.
What was his contract?
That part I don't know, but that's a very good question. So that potentially could have something to do with it.
Yeah, it could have been a hey, do me a favor. type of thing and clear me some cap.
Right. So, but other than that, we'll do this one first, and then we'll go into the big one. We'll save the big one for last year. The Avalanche received Ryan Lindgren with 50% retained, Jimmy Vesey, and Hank Kemp, and then send over to the New York Rangers Juuso Parssinen, Calvin DeHaan, a 25 second-round pick. That could be either Carolina's or the New York Rangers, whichever one is better. And then also a 25 fourth-round pick, and that could be either Colorado's or Vancouver's, whichever one ends up being better. The Avalanche are doing a lot, Carlo.
Honestly, the Avs just got a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean,
they got deeper.
Lindgren, and then you got Jimmy Vesey, who's definitely more defined as like a depth player at this point in his career, right? I remember him coming out of college, and everyone was stoked for him, right? I believe he won the Hobey Baker, didn't he? Or was nominated for it at one point?
Yeah, I think so.
But very hot college kid coming out, right, to start, and him joining the New York Rangers once upon a time and everything. And I remember the Red Wings were trying to attempt to get him, and we ended up, I think that was the same year, we got Hirose and the other guy, I can't think of his name, that we ended up trading to the Oilers. Ryan something was his name. If you know, let me know down in the comments. But Carlo, this would be something that I would like to see Steve Yzerman attempt to do, where it's not a big move, but it's something that clearly helps the team. Would you agree with me on that?
For Colorado, yeah, 100%. 100%.
This is the type of move where they're making a staple outside of, obviously, the Mikko Rantanen trade, right? That, we're attempting to make a push for the cup.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's very clear and very evident. They loaded up on depth, and I would say good depth, and they're probably, their lineup's going to slot nicely with those guys. And I think you're going to see a little more of a fortified Colorado Avalanche, especially for the last part of the season here.
Now, I'm laughing because this one actually is pretty hysterical. I laughed as soon as I read this to Carlo before we started recording as well. Seth Jones and 25% retained is going to the Florida Panthers. And then in return, they are getting goaltender prospect, if you even want to consider him a prospect at this point, Spencer Knight, and a 2027 first-round pick, Carlo.
That's going back to Chicago.
Yes, that is going back to Chicago. So you got 25% retained. That brings his cap pick down to $7 million. And he's got 3 more years after this season to finish out his contract. He does have a no move clause, so he clearly had to approve this trade to go through, but we probably assumed that this was going to happen, that Seth Jones wanted out of the Chicago Blackhawks organization, right? This obviously is not a surprise.
No.
Going to a contender like the Florida Panthers, right?
Not at all. That's easy for him.
Yeah, I would not be upset with going there. And plus, no tax. So he gets all that money remaining.
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy for him. That's an easy move to make. What I truly wonder is, what does this mean for Aaron Ekblad and the Florida Panthers moving forward?
I'm glad you brought that up, because Aaron Ekblad, he's on his last season with his contract at $7.5 million. He's also got a modified no trade clause, so 12-team no trade list. Also a right-handed shooting defenseman. So do they plan on keeping them both? Potentially, Carlo, but I think that this is a situation where we could see them actually trade him out, because they have no cap space going into this trade deadline. Could they be done? I don't find that likely whatsoever. I don't think that this is the last move that we'll see from the Florida Panthers, unless they truly just thought that that's what they needed, was right-handed shooting depth on the back end. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you nailed it, dude. I really think that's just it. Selfishly, kind of like Ekblad.
What do you think it would take for someone like Steve Yzerman to go out and get someone like an Aaron Ekblad to play behind a Moritz Seider on that second defensive unit? And then you could slot Johansson down if you wanted.
Like trade-wise?
Go out. Yeah.
I don't think Florida's trading him.
Yeah.
No
I'm right there with you at this point. I thought maybe there could have been some space if they wanted to get the cap to do more at the trade deadline. But like I just mentioned, they only have two right-handed shooting defensemen.
I think right now, like today, I don't even think Florida would answer the phone on Aaron Ekblad. Like they're going for another cup.
Right. Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So they're loading up, and they loaded up by getting Seth Jones. Why would they move Ekblad, who's solidified, right? At least until the season's done, and give or take, they win a cup. But even if they do win a cup, I don't know, man. I really think Ekblad might be done after this season, but I don't think he's getting traded. No chance. That would be the stupidest thing a GM could do if they're going for a cup, in my opinion.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think that the move for them is obviously to keep him, but you made mention he might be done after the season. Do you mean with Florida or for his NHL career?
No, I mean with Florida. I feel like he's got some hockey left in the tank for sure.
Yeah, just a very injury-prone type of player, right? That's kind of the downfall with an Aaron Ekblad, and I think that's why that the Florida Panthers went out and acquired someone like a Seth Jones, right? So, but Carlo, you look at this, and now we can kind of go ahead and look at the Red Wings, right? And maybe we could talk about players that we would like to see Steve Yzerman go after, but we've kind of already said it. That was the main topic of this episode, is that Steve Yzerman should most definitely go into this trade deadline acquiring some type of depth. Whether if that's bottom six, I don't know. Me primarily, Carlo, maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but he should go big swinging to me personally. I think if you want to set a tone to where you're very close to making the playoffs this season, me personally, the one thing that Steve Yzerman screwed up was by doing nothing last season. It's clearly the same thing that happened last season. It's happening currently right now.
Yep.
The team is slipping a little bit, and that's really no one's fault, I guess I could say, but it just comes down to you're getting further along into the season. Like I mentioned, you have a lot of young players on this team, five players. It's technically their first full season with this team, right? On this team right now, maybe outside of Giannis and Berggren. So technically 4, right? So yeah, you got to go out and get big swinging, right? And that comes down to maybe it's someone on the center, the wing, but you got to look at defense too. And these are players that we've talked about multiple times, and other podcasts have too, and a lot of analysts, people just in the NHL space. Dylan Cozens, Bowen Byram, I think those are players that you should be looking at. If not one, you should be targeting both. There are a lot of other names out there. I think getting a Jared McCann would actually be very beneficial for this team.
Yeah.
But that's just the spitball out some players right now. But I want to hear from you and let the folks know what you would like to see Steve Yzerman do for this trade deadline. What kind of approach do you want to see him do?
Well, I want to see him take an approach that tells the fan base that, all right, we're going for it.
Yeah.
That's the approach I'd like for him to take, because let's be honest here, we haven't seen him take that approach with this team since he's been back. He has not done that yet. So obviously, we're all eager for that day to come, and we're all eager for that timeline to exist. Now, what does that mean specifically? I can't tell you about the players. I have no clue what Steve Yzerman is thinking in his brain. I don't think anybody does. I have no clue what players he has highlighted on the whiteboard, if he's even using a whiteboard. Right. I have no clue. But the needs that this team made, and I guess I'll touch back on what I was talking about earlier, is we need a top 6 forward and a top 4 D-man. That's what this team truly needs to go on a somewhat of a run, if you want to call it that. And they need it now. Like, they need it very, very quickly. I don't think on the trade deadline boards and all the different little lists that these analysts have, I don't think there's anybody on there that's high impact that's going to make a difference. So
I'm with you there. I agree.
I'm hoping Steve's, and for that sake, I hope we make no moves. If we're going after one of those guys on the list that I was just looking at, there's nothing really there, dude. There's no legs there. Like, what's the point? It's like, you don't want to make a move just to make a move. Like, he said that so many times. You can't do that. So now I say this. Does Steve Yzerman do something that none of us see coming?
And that's kind of where it goes back, and you inserted DMAC earlier, so I'm going to do it here. No one knows what Steve Yzerman ever thinks, what he does, what he's going to do, anything like that. And and I love that you said, you can look at all these bulletin boards, these whiteboards, all these articles that these people are putting out there. And it's like, I don't want him. I don't want any of these 50 people. But Steve Yzerman is someone who goes against the status quo of those types of things, right? And I can see a world where he goes out big fish swinging, hunting, so to say, right? And gets someone that we least expected, kind of very similar to the Mikko Rantanen trade, right? With Martin Necas and everything like that. I 100% could see Steve Yzerman doing something like that. And you're exactly right, Carlo. Now is probably the perfect time to do it, because there could be an opportunity where, yes, you could make the second round if you actually go out there and get maybe a top 6 center, a legit one, right? Or a top 4 D-man. You absolutely could. You got to get that type of depth upcoming here. And you got to do it soon. And it should be today, if not tomorrow. But if you can do it before this game up against the Carolina Hurricanes on Tuesday, perfect. But that trade deadline's coming up here in 5 days, buddy. It's creeping up quick. And I would hate to see Red Wings fans go through the same thing that we did last year, just sitting there twiddling our thumbs, hoping and waiting that Steve Yzerman is going to do something. And I don't want him to do something just for the sake of doing something, but to be better than we were last season. That step is to go big swinging fishing for big name players at this deadline. That's me personally.
Yeah, that's it, dude. And then, I mean, when you try to even break that down and say, where do you even start? Like, when you talk about big fish swinging and like Steve Yzerman doing something that nobody's expecting, the whole point of saying that is the fact, I mean, you got to be honest with yourself and just kind of admit nobody has a clue what he's going to do. Like,
right.
So it's so hard to predict, especially if he's thinking that way, right? If he's thinking on a player's name, or if he's got someone's name that's highlighted that none of us could ever imagine. Now, you got to look at the likelihood of that too. You got to kind of measure that as well. Is now the time to go and do something crazy like that? You know, I'll be honest with you, with the way this coaching staff is, the way this team's shown they can play. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, why not? Let's go. Unless there's something behind the scenes that's all the attention is on free agency, and that's a very real reality that we could be up against too. We could see Steve do absolutely zero at the trade deadline, or a nothing burger type of move, right? But then your big fish swinging happens July 1. You could see that too.
What are the chances that the Red Wings aren't actually buyers, but they're actually sellers? We did a poll on this, Carlo. You actually wanted me to do it again, so I did. Vladimir Tarasenko has, at the point that I posted this, it was Wednesday, I believe. Vladimir Tarasenko has 4 points in 7 games played in February, 8 goals, 16 assists, 24 points in the 56 games played of the season. The Red Wings at that time, they looked like they could be heading into the playoffs. Maybe it's dwindled down a little bit, but 30% chance, right? Do the Red Wings want to trade a former 2-time Stanley Cup champion now that we know that Kopp is out the remainder of the season and Raz was day-to-day at that point? 341 votes, Carlo. 62% of people still want to trade Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yeah, I get why, man. I saw it last night, man. Like I said, like, he's breadbasket shots. The whole team had a hard time holding on to the puck last night, too. I don't know if something was going on with the ice, if it was too snowy or something, but they just could not connect anything. It was nuts. But on Tarasenko, he was one of those guys that just couldn't connect anything. And when he had his prime opportunities, he's shooting it at the crest on the jersey. He's not picking corners. I feel like the finesse is gone with Tarasenko. And we're just seeing, a very finesse-less Tarasenko, which is, not really contributing that much. But like you said, he's got cups. And he's got playoff experience. And if this team does go on a run, and if this team does go into the playoffs, do you want a guy like that, in the lineup?
I do.
I do too. I do too. But I guess that comes down to getting out of this next week, because if we can go and find somebody else who has a little bit of finesse and has the cups and has the experience, obviously they're going to jump or lap Tarasenko in this thought altogether. But until that happens, I want Tarasenko on this team, man. Just for the experience. Just for someone to talk to. Hey, man, it's game 4. What do you do to prep for game 4? I've never been here before. Like, you want a guy to talk to, man. Like,
Kane can't do it for every single player, right? It's nice to have someone like Vladimir Tarasenko to come in and at least give a different aspect or a different point of view of how to approach like a game 4, like you just mentioned, right? You're down 0-3, you're going into game 4. I've never been through this before. How do we get back and rebound from this, right? So Tarasenko would be a good person to go to and ask that type of question to. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Carlo. I think it would be better suited to keep him. But obviously, if a team comes saying, hey, we are a young team, we want a veteran leader type of guy, veteran presence who could maybe give us some goals, we'll give you like a 4th or a 5th for him. I guess I want to ask the question again. Is there a chance that the Red Wings could be sellers?
Who, outside of the obvious players that you're never going to even think about moving, you know, I talked about this before. Who else do we have that's desirable?
Lion.
Yeah, you need him. If you're going into the playoffs, you need him.
Yeah, the Red Wings aren't technically in a position to ship off luxurious players, right? I mean, you look at, I don't foresee any team wanting a Christian Fischer. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe there is a team out there that just needs to fill bodies. Do Christian Fischer that good, at least to get him some playing time. Maybe Joe Veleno. If there's one player on this team that is a dark horse to get traded, if you had to pick one, who would it be? One that's a little not obvious. I think that's Michael Rasmussen.
I would say, yeah, Ras. I can see
or Berggren.
Ras.
Let's bring back the Berggren rumors at this point. That was really big last season. Where'd that go?
What's that?
Where'd the Jonathan Berggren trade rumors were really big last season? Where'd those go? Let's bring those back.
Yeah, but again, like trade rumors according to who? Because like that probably never crossed Steve's mind. Maybe it did, but it didn't happen. Nothing came from it. There's no legs. That's my whole thing with this whole trade deadline, not in general, but specific to the Detroit Red Wings. Dude, you're shooting in the dark. That's just that way Steve Yzerman is.
A lot of people try to make it into a mind game situation, and a lot of times we gotta set ourselves down and take a second and think like, it's probably not as deep as we want to believe that it is. And it's just simple as, you know, it's got to be something as simple as like, this is my plan. If something comes along and if I like it, okay. Was that part of the plan? Probably not, but I just take it as it comes. That's probably what it's always like for him, Carlo, to be honest.
It is. I think there's so much just mystique around the name and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, I'm GM. I see good player. I can talk to good player. I can get good player. I make team good.
Steve Yzerman.
Boom, done. Boom. Like it's very easy, man.
It's so easy a caveman could say it too, Carlo.
That's the whole point. You got it. I'm glad you picked it up.
All right. I don't know what else I could say about the NHL trade deadline other than it's upcoming once again, Carlo, March 7th. You really want to see Steve Yzerman. I mean, it sounds like you're with me right there. We would love to see him go big fish swinging, right? Are we going to be disappointed if he does not do that, though? I don't think I'll be disappointed.
Well, you have to ask yourself, am I okay? You okay? Let's say nothing happens and you're disappointed, but what if there was nothing to happen in the first place? So you got to be real with yourself,
right?
So there's a chance nothing happens. There is a chance nothing happens, and I can see all the people online flipping out and Yzer plan. What does the Yzer plan even mean? And blah blah blah, just doing their thing. But you got to remember, like, there's other GMs in the league all trying to make their team better. Steve Yzerman's obviously one of those guys. If he gets the opportunity to make the team better, he's going to do it. He's probably gonna chew on it for a while to really decide, well, at what cost? Is this going to burn me in the long run? Which he's obviously not going to put himself in the position to do, only because we're not in that position yet. Our window's not even here yet, folks. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, you want to go big fish swinging, we're not even in our window yet. So you're doing this.
Teeter-tottering, for sure.
Yeah. But sit tight, folks. Buckle up, because we got 5 days ahead of us here that will be fun. It'll be fun to keep an eye on what's going on. But I'm telling you, if there's a move to be made that is Detroit Red Wing friendly, it's gonna happen. Is it gonna be a huge one? Don't know. Is it gonna be a nothing burger? I'm leaning towards that probably being what it is. Going to be a nothing burger type of move, or nothing. Maybe nothing happens at all. I don't know.
Buckle up, grab some popcorn, sit down. It's going to be a bumpy roller coaster of a ride these next 5 days, Carlo.
Yes, sir.
But I do believe, once again, I'm just going to say it, if Steve wanted to do something, I think he's got to do it before this upcoming Tuesday game. That's just me.
I mean,
personally.
yeah, sure. But like, if he does something today or tomorrow, the player's not going to be playing on Tuesday.
No, but with it being, well, I mean, the season right after the trade deadline, you only got about a month and a week left. So it's really not too many games. I've always been a fan of saying, or I've always been someone who said the trade deadline should be sooner.
Yeah.
It's players more time, gives coaching more time, just everyone all around to get acclimated, and it makes a better environment overall. I don't like the whole, it takes 20 games to get acclimated, and then by the time you make it to the playoffs, it's worthless. We saw past Red Wings teams go through that. David Legwand and all these other types of players that they signed, right? And it was just all garbage.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, Carlo. I got nothing else to say on the trade deadline. What about you, bud?
I got nothing else either, man. I think we're getting towards the very end here. I just took a little quick refresh at Twitter, and there has not been a move made yet. So everyone's still sleeping on this Sunday morning.
Yeah. Well, maybe Steve does something at midnight tonight. Who knows? He don't care what time it is.
Exactly.
So, but let us know if you made it this far in the episode. Thank you if you did. Let us know down in the comments what you would like to see Steve Yzerman and the Detroit Red Wings do at this year's NHL Trade Deadline upcoming here, March 7th. Just going to label it out there. We will be live. I'll be live at least for the NHL Trade Deadline day. So if you guys want to come in, chat with me, I'll just be here with my dogs, hanging out, just following up with all the trades that take place on that day. But I got a feeling that most of them aren't going to be on the day of, and it's going to be throughout the week. So I just might waste a lot of my day. Right? But at least I get to see and talk to all of you guys. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. We will announce that at some point later down the road. But Carlo, I think we can wrap this up and go into our final thoughts, buddy. Go ahead and take it up. I don't know what I just said there.
I don't know either, but I think the final thoughts should be, for me anyways, is, let's get back to practice. I'm very curious to see what the next catchphrase is going to be from Todd McClellan, but these guys need to get back to work. They need to work on their X's and O's. So my final thoughts are X's and O's. And those, I do not mean hugs and kisses. I do not mean that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, that makes me sad. That's unfortunate. Hugs and kisses only, Carlo.
Not with these X's and O's. I'm talking about a little bit with different ones.
All right, fine. My final thoughts. Let's see. I don't want to copy and paste what Carlo did. It's a little boring. Let's go Red Wings. Actually get some wins. Don't continue a losing streak. Don't make it 3 games in a row. Continue staying in a wild card position. Todd, new phrase. Get the boys rumbling. Get the boys going. Steve, please make a trade. Not just for the sake of the trade, but just to make this team better today, next season, and seasons to come. What are you doing down there?
I was just
pick up the phone,
pretending like I was Steve, and I'm like, yo, pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. Steve, pick up the phone. Yeah, those are my final thoughts. Once again, go Red Wings. It's going to be a great NHL trade deadline year. We've already seen some pretty wild, crazy trades, as that tends to happen. They always happen the days leading up to the deadline. So who knows? Stick around, find out. We appreciate y'all for coming on this brand new episode. If you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button that is down there. Hit the thumbs up and then follow us. Rate us the 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. And until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.
See you guys.